Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Sister Shima. Last week we learned about the rules of LAAM and RAA. I just want to go over those rules so you won't forget about it over your holiday break, okay? Inshallah. So the objectives of our class this week is to understand what condition makes the letter RAA heavy or light, to understand what makes the letter LAAM in the word Allah heavy or light, and to be able to apply the rules of RAA and LAAM in our reading, inshallah. We will recap from our last week's lesson all the heavy letters you have learned. There are 7, which is Qaf, Sod, Dod, Ta, Dha, Ghain, and Qaf. And there are 2 exceptions, which is Ra and Lam. Lam varies only for the word Allah, and all the other letters are read light. Now on this screen, we will look at the rule of Lam in word Allah. The first word is Bismillah. Lam is read light because Mim has a kasra. And the other word, Wallah, Lam is read heavy because Waw has a fatha. We must look at what haraka the letter before the word Allah has. If the letter before Allah has a fatha or dhamma, the lam will be heavy. If the letter before Allah's name has a kasra, then the lam will be read light. Looking at this example, Bismillah, the lam will be read light because mim has a kasra. So the word Allah will be read light as Bismillah. In this word Wallahu, Waw has a fatha. That means we will read Allah heavy as Wallahu. In this word Wattaqullah, we will look for the letter before Allah's name with haraka, which is Qaf with haraka, Dhamma. That means we will read Allah heavy. Wattaqullah. Here are some words for you to practice. Work out if the lam should be heavy or light. You can pause and then resume again. For the first word, Tallahi, the first letter before Allah's name has a fatha. That means we will read lam heavy. In the second word, Billahi, the first letter before Allah's name has a kasra. That means we will read lam light. For the third word, Nasrullah, the first letter before Allah's name that has a haraka is Ra with a dhamma. That means we will read lam heavy. Let's look at these words. Al-Bariya and Adraka. Al-Bariya is read light and Adraka is read heavy. So what makes them light and heavy? We have to look at the haraka on the letter Ra. Wherever you see the word symbol in my notes, I meant haraka. So you must look at the haraka on the letter Ra. If the letter Ra has a fatha or dhamma, the Ra will be heavy. If the letter Ra has a kasra, then the Ra will be light. Look at this example. At the Ra has a fatha. That means the Ra will be read heavy. For the word ma'rufin, Ra has a dhamma, so it will be read heavy. For the word al-bariya, Ra has a kasra, that means Ra will be read light. So what if Ra has a sukoon? Let me just remind you, any letter that has a sukoon on it is called sakina. So in this word fa'atharna, we look at the haraka on the letter before Ra. If the letter before the ra sakina has a fatha or a dhamma on it, then it is always pronounced heavy. Like in this word, فَأَثَارُنَا, tha has a fatha. And in the second word, khurbanan, qaf has a dhamma. So in these both words, one has a fatha, one has a dhamma. They both will be read heavy. If the letter before the ra sakina has a kasra on it, then it is pronounced light. Now in this raw rules, there are a few exceptions. One is hamzatul wasl. Hamzatul wasl is a sign of a swad on top of alif. Whenever you see that directly before the ra sakina, there is an exception. And if ra sakina is followed by a heavy letter, then that's an exception. I'll go over it next. The ra will always be heavy regardless of what haraka is on the letter before the hamzatul wasl. Like look at these words. The noon has a kasra. That means in a normal sense you would read it light, the ra. However, because there is a hamzatul wasl right before ra sakina, then in this case you will make this an exception to the rule. Ra sakina is followed by a heavy letter. You know your heavy letters from last week? There are qaf, sad, dad, ain, ta, qaf, wa. The ra is pronounced heavy when it is followed by any of these heavy letters. Like these, look at these two examples. Khir, ta, sin, mir, sa, dan. Even though there is qa has a kasra, but after ra sakina there is a heavy letter which is ta, then you read this heavy. And the second, same thing in the second word, mim has a kasra, but right after ra sakina is a heavy letter, then you will apply this exception. Another exception is that the letter before ra is a ya sakina. If you are going to stop, you see that round circle, that means it's a stop. If you are going to stop with a ra at the end of a word and the letter before ra is a ya sakina, then we always recite the ra light. Like it in this example, khair. Let's summarize everything we have learned today, okay? Summary of ra. Does the ra have a sukoon? If your answer is no, then you should look to see what symbol is on the letter ra. If it is fatha or dhamma, then you should read it heavy as adraka. If the ra has a kasra, then you will read it light. As an example, al-bariya. If the answer to does the ra has a sukoon is yes, then what symbol does the letter before ra sakina have? You should look at that. If the haraka or symbol is fatha or dhamma, then we will read it heavy. As an example, khurbanan. If the letter before ra sakina have kasra, then we will ask the question, is ra followed by a heavy letter? If the answer is yes, then we will read ra heavy. As in this example, khirtasin. If ra sakina is not followed by a heavy letter, then you should ask a question, is ra preceded by a hamzatul wasl? If your answer is yes, then you read ra heavy. As in this example, limaniro tada. If ra is not preceded by a hamzatul wasl, then you should read ra light. As in this example, fir'auna. And another example we discussed was that if there is a stop and there is a ya sakina before ra, then we will read that ra light. As an example, khair. So what have we learned today? We learned how to categorize Arabic letters into heavy and light. There are two types of letters, heavy and light. Then we learned the conditions that make the letter lam in the word Allah heavy or light. We also know how to apply the rule of lam in a given word. We know the conditions that makes the letter ra heavy and light. We also know how to apply the rule of RAW in a given word. Until next time, this is Sister Shima. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.